Hi, welcome to Roy's Garage. Today on my 300ZX we're going to be replacing the old stinky cigarette lighter with a brand new USB double outlet port that I've got off eBay. Okay, so that's going to give me a much nicer spot to plug in my phone, and also it's got a little DC voltmeter on it, which will be a nice thing to be able to see how my battery's going. Let's go have a look in the car. Okay, just getting inside the car here. There's still a few tools here from when we did the clock delete in my last video, and now we're looking at this little ash cigarette lighter here in the ashtray. So, taking apart the dash here, your 300ZX, underneath this little panel here will have two screws holding down the center console part here. Mine hasn't got those, and as you'll see in a moment, someone who had the car before I bought it has gone and broken all of this here, so there's no point trying to screw into it. We need to disconnect the clock delete that we did in the last video. There we are, so that can come out. Then I've got a couple of screws here holding down the center console other part. Let's take those out. Your ashtray just wiggles out, so held in there with a clip. And there's a screw underneath the ashtray. Your gear shift knob needs to come off, and that just unscrews. There we are, comes out. Okay, then we can lift out our center console. Plug here to undo, which is the ashtray box illumination, and that's going. Okay, there we are. Then we've got the mirror control. There we are. And we've got the cigarette lighter illumination. Just got a little push button on the front. Get that off. There we are. Then we have the cigarette lighter itself. Okay, there we are. And we've got that off. Okay, we're back at the bench, and first thing we really need to do is get this cigarette lighter out of here. So there's a little clip just inside of there. It's just there. I'm just going to need to push that with a little screwdriver and find a chisel. Okay, so on this episode of Tools Used Incorrectly, we have a chisel. What we're going to do is try to create a little bit of upward pressure on the underside of this metal ring. While we pop this little clip. And there we are, with a little twist of a screwdriver, we've dislodged the metal inner part of the ashtray. from the outer illumination ring there, which now can actually be pushed out of the housing. Now this came with this rubber cover, which I don't think I'm going to use, so I'm going to take that rubber cover off and install this without it. And look at that, it just about fits perfect. So what I'm going to need is I think I'm going to want the voltage meter pointing towards the driver's side, and I need a little bit more room through that hole for this to fit in. So we've got the Dremel there, pair of glasses. If you're using a tool that's really noisy, you should have hearing protection as well, but this is not particularly noisy. And the first thing we're going to do is make this hole a little bit bigger. Yeah, okay. And that's fitting in there pretty good now. And now this kit comes with a little back ring that goes on there, and that is not going to fit between that housing and the charger. So I think these little lugs are going to have to come off. So more Dremel. Got our ring here without any lugs left on it, and we're gonna put that guy on there and do that up, and that's fitting nicely. Get that done up. Raise my thumb. Okay, and that's installed. These leads, which connect to your charger, charger is marked plus and minus, so plus to red, minus to black, and this particular lead came with an inline fuse on the positive side. I'm going to cut that off, and I'll talk about that now. Okay, so what you must never do is have your car battery plus, minus, you've got your body, minus connected to the body, your plus goes to some device, and then to the body. Now, if this is unfused and something goes wrong with your device, then you can run big current through this and end up with fire, and that of course is bad. So what you have to have in any circuit is a fuse, so if something goes wrong with your device, the fuse will blow and then you don't get fire. Now with this, you're like, but Roy, you just cut the fuse out. Okay, what's with that? Well, originally we already had a fuse here. The vehicle has a fuse which feeds the old cigarette lighter, and what we're doing is just connecting this in place of the cigarette lighter. So this circuit is already fused, and this fuse here, which is in the engine bay, is much easier to get to and fix and change if something goes wrong than having lots of individual fuses hidden underneath your dashboard. Yeah, so now I'm going to prep this connector to be soldered into the car, and take my wire strippers and knock the ends off those wires, and I'm just going to hit that with the old soldering iron, and this is called tinning. So I'm going to tin that terminal, and whoop, that's not one. Okay, and I'm going to tin this terminal. If you get a big blob of solder like that, just tap it off on your stand. It's not much use to you. It's not going to do you much good. Okay, and there I have it. My tinned terminals ready to be soldered into the car. Now, of course, before we start doing any chopping or changing of wiring inside of the car, we're going to disconnect the negative battery terminal and secure it to the side. So here we are, back in the car, and this is our connector for the old cigarette lighter. Of course, the battery has been disconnected, so if I cut through these, I'm not going to cause any nasty sparks or flames. I'm going to split this rubber cover off here, being careful not to chop the wires that are underneath there. Just being careful, get rid of that. I'm going to leave this old plug here, a couple little tails on it, and just chop this off right about here. Okay, there we are. Prep these for soldering. So I've got my soldering on here, bit of solder, just tin these tips, slide a piece of heat shrink onto this, get that out of the way of the heat. Then I'm going to heat up the bigger, fatter wire first. Get it that way, and then I'm just going to add a new thinner wire to it. Doing the same with the other guy. Any soldered joints should be, should look good and should feel firm. Okay, right, now I can bring our heat shrink down, get that height, and then shrink you shrink that. That's our connection made, and we're ready for reassembly. We're going to reconnect the illumination connector here and reconnect our rear view mirror connector there. Clip back into there, sit that guy back down. We need that screw that goes underneath the cigarette lighter. Put our screws back into the center console. Not too tight, just nip them up, because otherwise we'll do what someone has done to this car and you'll shatter that plastic that's underneath those screws. So just nip that up a little bit. I can reconnect my clock delete. Okay, so moment of truth. If everything's gone well, when I turn the key on, we should get clock delete should light up, and we should see our USB transformer light up. So let's see what happens. Yes, turning the ignition on and starting up the engine. And that's working very nicely. Very nice. Remember to like and subscribe. It helps me get this channel going so I can bring you more content like this. Thanks, catch up.